Hi there, this is Hannah with Frugal for Two. Today we are going to be looking at how to make this cheap, delicious vegetable beef soup. Stay tuned. Alright, here are the ingredients that we're going to be using today. This soup has been passed down by my grandmother. I love most of her recipes. This one's going to be slightly adjusted today because of the vegetables that I have and what my tastes are. So today we are going to be working with 4 cups of water, 8 potatoes. These are very small potatoes. Obviously you would need less if they were larger. 1 small onion, minced, along with 2 pounds of ground beef, corn, tomatoes, carrots, and mixed vegetables. I'm also adding in some frozen broccoli because I needed to use it up. And of course, a large pot. Let's get started. First, we're going to want to deal with these potatoes. You're of course going to want to wash them thoroughly. And in my case, I don't like potato skins, so I am peeling these potatoes before I chop them up. This is one of my least favorite things to do, and I put off this recipe for quite some time because of it. Now you're going to want to chop up these potatoes and cube them into nice bite-sized pieces. You want them chunky, but not so big that they don't cook all the way through. Now we're going to add our minced onion to our hamburger. You're going to want to stir that in well, and you can cook this on the stove to really get that flavor in there, especially if you haven't pre-cooked the hamburger. For me, I'm going to be a little lazy. I'm going to microwave it. Now you're going to start with your 4 cups of water. The stove is going to be set on high so you can get that boiling as soon as possible. Add in those tomatoes and get it to a boil. Now with my stove, it tends to boil very quickly once it gets boiling, so I have to really keep an eye on it. I don't know if your stove is like this. Comment below if it is. It tends to get over temperature quite quickly, but that's easily fixed if you're watching it. So now that this is boiling well, we're going to start with adding our frozen vegetables first. In my case, that's going to be this broccoli that I'm adding in there. And I'm adding just as much as seemed even with the tomatoes. And I'm going to let that cook for about 5 minutes or so before adding the next set of vegetables. Then we're going to add in our mixed vegetables and corn and carrots. Canned vegetables don't need quite as much time to cook as the frozen vegetables, so that's why we gave it about 5 minutes before adding these in. Once it's mixed well, you're going to set a timer for about 10 minutes. And you're going to let these cook. Make sure you bring that heat up to get it back up to a boil. Doesn't that look good? Okay, now that it's been 10 minutes, we're going to start by adding in our spices. Of course, you're going to want to continue to stir every 5 to 10 minutes to make sure that everything's cooking evenly. First, we're going to add a thick layer of garlic salt, along with a little bit of extra, just regular salt. And lots of pepper. Make sure that you stir this in well so that all of those spices don't sit at the top of the soup. At this point, you're going to add in your potatoes. These potatoes add a lot of volume to the soup and make it very filling. So they are a great filler in multiple ways. Not only do they stretch the soup, but they make one bowl of it last you for hours. Now you're going to add in your hamburger and onion. And again, this will add even more volume to that soup, so make sure that you grabbed a large pot. This is actually a bit too much for this pot, but it's the largest pot I have, so it just means that I have to stir very carefully to get everything mixed together. Once you've got it all mixed together, you're going to get your timer back out and you're going to set it for another 10 minutes. These 10-minute periods are great times to clean up your kitchen. Now that that's been boiling for another 10 minutes, we're going to do a taste test. Just to see what spices we may need to add in. In my case, it needed a little of everything. I just hadn't put enough in the first time. You're going to want to continue taste testing throughout the cooking process, so you can continue adding in spices as needed, because everything changes as the soup cooks. Once those are in, stir it up well, and then, you guessed it, we're going to cook it for another 10 minutes. Go do those dishes. Once those 10 minutes are up, we're going to do another taste test, but this time we're going to grab the vegetables that take the longest to cook, and we're going to taste test those to see how done they are. In my case, the big chunks of broccoli and the potatoes are the ones that I needed to test. While I was at it, I realized that I needed a little bit more spice, so I added in some more garlic salt and a lot more pepper. There is so much pepper in this soup, more than I would use in any other soup. There's just so many vegetables in this soup. They need the help. And it's a large pot of soup, so it needs a lot of spices to mix evenly and keep it from being bland. It enhances all of the flavors of these vegetables and creates a very delicious soup. Okay, now at this point, you're going to want to keep turning the heat to where you need it so it can continue to boil. And of course, we're going to let it cook for another 10 minutes. And then come back to taste test whatever vegetables weren't quite done. In my case, I was checking on that potato. After that, cook however long you need to get everything done. In my case, it only took another 5 minutes, and you have this beautiful pot of soup. This is a great soup for freezing, and in my case, I stuck it in 4 ball jars. 2 of them went straight to the freezer, and 2 of them became dinner. My husband can eat a lot of soup, so 1 of these full ball jars went into a bowl for him, and I ate most of the not so full jar. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this recipe as much as I do. The vegetables in this soup can be changed around any way you like, so be sure to make it to your tastes. Comment below what vegetables you think you'll use in the soup. Enjoy! Alright, if you're watching this far into the video, I'm guessing you liked what you saw. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up so more people will be able to see it. And give me a subscribe so that you can know when I put out new videos. I would love to hear from you in the comments. I'll see you next time.